Welcome to the Airgun Show. This week I'm going to show you how to make the cheap but effective scope cam adapter that I use to capture a lot of our through the scope footage. But first up, I'm out on a ratting session that finishes in a flurry after a frustratingly slow start. Right, I'm back out on the farm after rats this evening. Now, we didn't see a lot the last time we were here, but it's been a few weeks since and we've had a couple of cold snaps, so there's every chance that that cold weather has pushed more rats in off of the fields. Now we've got another very cold evening this evening, but we're wrapped up for the weather, so hopefully we'll be able to stick it out for a few hours. The gear I'm using this evening is the same ratting setup that I've been using for much of this winter. The gun's the Brocock Bantam, and the optics tonight are the ATN X-Sight. That's a night vision unit. Now, expecting it to be fairly tough this evening, I want to take advantage of any edge that I can possibly get, and night vision is definitely a serious edge. Now, another really handy piece of kit I've got with me this evening, and it's actually a piece of kit that's established itself as one of my ratting regulars over the last couple of years, and that's the Primos trigger stick. Now, if I can take rested shots, I will, especially with this sort of setup. Although the Bantam's a relatively light air gun, it's quite a heavy combo once I've got the X-Sight and illuminator on here. So that added support, especially when I'm shooting from a sitting position, just helps me to keep those shots absolutely bang on target. Very quick word about tonight's tactics, because they're a little bit different from last time. The last time we were here, I didn't bother putting out any baits because I really didn't feel that there were enough rats around to warrant it. This evening I thought I'd give it a try, and I've brought along some of my absolute favourite ratting bait, and that's liquidised cat food. Now obviously it's very smelly, so rats do struggle to resist it, but because it's a liquid, they have to stop and lap it up if they want to get a decent feed, and that should give me enough time to line up for those headshots. So what I've done, I've set myself up in a spot where I can cover a lot of the yard, a lot of what I regard as being quite ratty areas, and I've put bait spots along where I expect the areas that I expect rats to be using as runs, in the hope of stopping them as they're making their way around the farm. Those bait spots vary from about 12 to 20 metres from where I'm sitting, so they double up as range markers, and at that distance they should be fairly comfortable shots. So that's the gear and the tactics. I'm going to stop talking now and we'll see if we can shoot a few rats. It's just a matter of being patient now and having faith in my methods. The farmer has told me that he's seen a few rats around, so I'm hopeful that they'll be venturing out to feed now that darkness has closed in. Scanning the bait spots through the X-Sight night vision scope means there's no light to spook the rats. Before long, I spot one that's crept out to investigate one of my offerings. Oh, that was a nice quick one. That rat actually looked like it was coming out to have a sniff at a bait spot that I'd put down in the hope of drawing them out away from a run that was just going through that grass, so it looked like that bait spot was doing what it was supposed to. With an early one accounted for, I keep scouring the target area for signs of activity. My baits are scattered around quite a wide area,
but I've made sure that they're all within comfortable range of my position. The night is slipping by and, with no sign of any more rats, I'm starting to consider a change of tactics to keep the shots coming.
Well, it's been absolutely dead since that first rat, which is quite worrying because it's been quite a wait. What I'm going to do, I think, is take a bit of a walk around the farm and see if I can see any moving anywhere else. But it may just be that all the chat has put the rats on edge. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to take my seat with me just yet, because it could well be that while we're away for a while, they get a taste for those bait spots. We may even get some shots back here. So we're going to have a look elsewhere anyway.
With the cows in and lots of feed put out for them, there's no shortage of places on the farm that could hold rats at this time of year. Though, scanning through the darkness, this doesn't look like the hot spot I'm searching for. The light spilling from the sheds provides just enough illumination for me to safely navigate the yard, but I'm still completely reliant on the X-Sight's night vision when it comes to seeking out rats in their gloomy hiding places. It looks like another blank spot, but I'm not giving up yet. If the farmer says he's seen rats, then there are sure to be some here somewhere, and I'm determined to account for a few of them before the session draws to a close.
Right, well, there don't seem to be any rats moving anywhere else, so what I think I'm going to do, head back to where we started and give it another hour or so there.
And it seems like the time away from this spot may just have worked in our favour. We've not been back long and I've already got one in the crosshairs. A quick reload after that one and another scan through the scope soon reveals another rat out on its rounds.
Well, that is a lot more like it. Looked like the first one was on a bait spot as well, so what I'm hoping is that they've got a taste for that cat food while we've been wandering around the farm. And I also just think it's a matter of me just trying to keep a little bit more quiet than I was first time round.
The increase in activity is remarkable, and it's not long before I'm in action again. I'm not happy with the way that one was hit, so I swiftly reload while trying to keep it in my sights. I want to get a precise follow-up shot away as quickly as I can, but it turns out to be unnecessary.
Wow, that one flinched just as I was about to touch off the trigger, and what it looked like happened was that I caught it in the heart and lung area. It initially looked like quite a strong runner, and I was looking to get a second shot into it, but then flopped back up, keeled over, stone dead, so I must have hit it in a vital organ.
It's hard to tell whether this one was attracted by the bait spot or the dead rat. Either way, it proves to be a bad move.
Well, that was a really good solid smack to the head, and that one's flopped straight down the drain. Right, well, I thought I'd just take a quick peep down this side. And that rat was actually poking its head out of one of the sleepers that make up the wall of the shed that runs down away from here. Now, I was hoping that after I'd hit it, it was going to flop straight out. But it didn't, frustratingly. But judging by the wallop that the pellet made, it was a really good solid headshot, and it's just dead in there.
The flurry of activity since our return to this area has been amazing. It's slowing down now, but I'm convinced that there are more shots to be had.
That one's bounced off into the blinking undergrowth, but from what I heard it was a really good strike, so I'm convinced it hasn't gone very far. One thing I have noticed, though, and we're both noticing it, is it has turned really, really cold. Now, we had quite a wait for that shot, so I just hope things aren't going to go dead again. Well, there's no denying that that's definitely been the most productive area tonight. And that one was certainly on a bait spot then, so I'm hoping that they are getting a taste for it. Two small ones under the vehicle there in pretty quick succession. It's always a bonus when you spot two and manage to bag them both. And it also really does emphasise the benefit of having a multi-shot airgun when you're shooting in the dark and want to get that next shot away quickly without having to fumble around for pellets.
We've managed to glean a few shots from what initially looked like being a very poor night, but with the action dropping off and the cold creeping in, it's time to accept that we've had the best of it.
Well, it's turned very quiet now and the cold has really set in. We've been out on the farm for about 5 hours and we haven't been moving about very much. So I've got to say I'm really starting to miss the creature comforts of home. So I'm going to get those rats picked up onto the slurry pit and call it a night. A farmyard ratting session that finally came good there. And now it's the Airgun Show news.
This is the Airgun Show news. November was the busiest month in history for firearms inquiries. Basque's firearms team said it dealt with 1,067 queries by phone, email or post. As usual, the biggest issue was delays in processing licence applications and renewals, with medical issues also a significant factor. Basque chairman Peter Glenzer said, "It is disappointing that we are still talking about the delays to waiting times for certificates and renewals, and we are still having so many members affected by them." Stuck for a last-minute Christmas present? How about the Ultimate Airgun Handbook, on sale now from the team behind Airgun Show magazine? Across 5 themed sections, it's full of expert tips and techniques for choosing the right airgun, looking after your gear, and hitting the target more consistently. With target shooting, hunting and plinking all covered, it's the perfect book for airgun lovers with all levels of experience. Get a copy now from myfavouritemagazines.co.uk. Air Arms has got in on the festive cheer too. Airgunners look forward to the Air Arms Christmas advert every year, and this year's effort sees a woodland showdown between boys and girls. Almost. Just when it looks like there's going to be a standoff, there's a surprise ending. Follow the link on screen to view the whole video. And finally, if you're a student top shot, why not apply to shoot at the World University Championships in Kuala Lumpur in March? British Shooting is seeking entrants in all shooting disciplines, including men's and women's air rifle and pistol. 3 athletes in each discipline will be selected to travel. You must be under 25, currently studying, and have met the minimum consideration score. The deadline for entries is tomorrow. Visit the British Shooting website for more details on how to apply. That was the Airgun Show news.
We get asked a lot of questions about the scope cam setup that I use for the Airgun Show. It seems that a lot of you want to shoot your own footage but are struggling to find an effective and affordable way to mount a video camera to your telescopic sight. Now, I've spoken briefly about my own scope cam setup in the past, but I thought I'd take the time to look at it in just a bit more detail today. Starting with the camera, I've got a very basic Sony Handycam. Now, the model you go for isn't particularly important, although you don't want something that's too heavy. What is important is that you're able to screw a step-down ring into the lens or to glue one around the lens. There are various ways to fit a video camera to a telescopic sight, but my current favourite is to use the rubber sleeves that come with flip-up lens cover caps. Now, you'll obviously need to choose a sleeve that fits to the ocular lens of your scope. You'll also need to remove the plastic cap piece, and you may need to use a hacksaw to do that. Once you've got the cap out of the way, you then have an adapter that should fit to the rear of your scope. Of course, that adapter is absolutely useless unless you have a means of attaching your video camera to it, and that's where those step up and step down rings come in. You can buy them from camera shops, but you should be able to find a cheap set on the internet. The vital thing is to have 2 rings that fit together. I've glued a 30 to 37mm step-up ring centrally around the front of the Handycam's lens. I've then glued a corresponding 30 to 37mm step-down ring to one of those sleeves. Screw the 2 rings together and you've fastened your video camera to your scope attachment sleeve. So with the 2 elements fastened together, it's just a matter of pushing the collar onto the scope. Switch on the video camera now and you should be able to see the sight picture on the screen. The great thing about these rubber sleeves is that they've got a little bit of play, so you can tweak the angle until the camera is perfectly aligned. With the camera switched on, zoom in and out until the sight picture fills the frame as best as it can. You then need to turn off the autofocus and use the manual focus on your video camera to get the crosshairs pin sharp on the screen. That should be the last time that you need to do any focusing with the camera. Any future focusing of the image on the screen is done using the parallax focus adjustment on the scope. For best results, turn off the image stabilizer on your video camera. And remember, by fitting 30mm step-up rings to different sized rubber sleeves, you can swap attachments and then fit your video camera to different scopes with different sized ocular lenses. So, that's the attachment method that I use for most of my scope cam work. It is fairly basic, but it served me very well over the years, and I have to say that it works a lot better than some of the expensive attachments that I've bought and tried. Hopefully, it'll enable you to capture some decent footage during your shooting trips.
That's all for this week, but we'll be back again in a fortnight. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And if you aren't already a member of the BASC, it's time you joined the organisation that works to promote and protect your sport. And if you're stuck for Christmas gift ideas for an airgun shooting loved one, check out Airgun Shooter magazine's fantastic festive subscription deals. And finally, may I wish you a very Merry Christmas from myself and the rest of the team at the Airgun Show.